Okay, good morning. This is Professor David J. De Los Reyes. Okay, it's September 19, 2023. The time is 5:04 a.m. Okay, my topic for this session will be a continuation of my long video format discussion, and this is on college algebra. For this college algebra, we are almost done. This will now be maybe the last three remaining topics. Okay, let's proceed. The subject matter for this morning will be college algebra, and this will now be lesson number 66. This is the topic on graphs of functions, or how to graph algebraic equations. Okay, algebraic equations or functions. For the meantime, we will just concentrate on the so-called algebraic functions, because the graphs of other functions are more complicated than the algebraic, like the exponential, logarithmic. Okay, but for the meantime, we will just discuss the graphs of functions under algebraic, meaning y equal to a function of x, right? Okay, let's try to bring up the procedure and how to plot the graph. This is the long method of procedure, but you must have to be, what you call this, good enough to bring out this type of solution, because this is point plotting. Because if the graph is complicated, even though you plot so many points, still you could not figure out what will be the figure. But at least we will be using our intellect on how to, what do you call this, minimize the procedure and how to plot this graph. Okay, let's try to bring out the concept of point plotting. The method of plotting the graph is actually the so-called point plotting. For point plotting, there are three several steps. Okay, number one is make a table of values showing several solution points. The meaning of that, if we are given y as a function of x, the meaning of that, assume values for x, okay, with the starting point in a stop point, okay, then compute for the corresponding value of y. So meaning to say, if you assume a value of x, you will compute for y, okay, then you go to the next step. You might go lower or higher, it depends on what you want, but the proper procedure is to go from lower to higher value, right? So if you start with 0, the next one will be maybe 1 or 2, okay? So for the assumed value of x, there will be corresponding value of y, okay? So actually we are constructing a table of the values for x and y. So there will be a, what you call this, a table that will come out. So if you assume value for x, there will be a corresponding value of y. So what will come out will be a table of points correspondingly with x and y values. So after bringing out the corresponding values of x and y with the going assumption, okay, try to connect now the points. Try to connect the points, because for each value of x and y, there should be a corresponding point, okay, on the graph. And on the third step, try to connect the points and try to see if you can figure out what will be the graph. Okay, let's try to bring out an example to illustrate the concept of point plotting. Algebra is just a basic thing, right? So in this plotting of graphs, okay, at least we are still on algebra and we now know how to plot the graphs of functions, right? Because when we go to the so-called higher mathematics like analytic geometry, okay, analytic geometry mostly you will be plotting graphs, and these graphs are actually needed in the study of higher mathematics. Okay, let's try to bring out example number 1. Plot the graph of the equation y equal to 4x. The given function of x, algebraic, is y is equal to 4x. Okay, if you are smart enough, or we are smart enough, the given equation is actually a linear equation, right? This is y, this is x. The highest power of y here is 1, the highest power of x here is 1. So meaning to say the given equation is a linear equation. Linear equation. So if it is a linear equation, supposed to be the graph we are plotting is actually a straight line. Okay, we are smart enough. We are through with the study of linear equations, right? So in the plotting of the graphs, try to visualize first what are the highest power of x and y for both the left and right. And luckily for this example number 1, the highest power of x and y is actually, for y is 1 and for x is 1. So I was telling you a while ago that this is a linear equation. And supposed to be, the graph we are plotting to bring out is actually a straight line. Okay? Let's do this. From the equation y equal to 4x, okay? We assume values, we do point plotting. We start with x equal to 0. For this equation here, if x is equal to 0, y will be 4 times 0, so y will be 0. Right? So again, for the equation y equal to 4x, we are increasing the value of x, right? So when x is equal to 1, what will be y? Y will be 4 times 1, and y will be equal to 4. When x is equal to 2, again to this equation here, we are assuming values, we put it on the given function, then try to compute for y. When x is 2, y will be equal to 4 times 2, and this will be 8. Okay? When x is 3, y will be 4 times 3, x is 3, y will be 12. Okay? So with these assumed values of x, we computed for the corresponding values of y. Then actually we produce a table, right? A table for x and y. Okay, with the corresponding values. So just to plot the graph of the required function, okay, plot these points here individually. When x is 0, y will be 0, so our first point is actually this one. If we now try to plot the points, I'm still on camera. If we now try to plot the points, we'll go with the first point. The first point is actually 0, 0. When x is 0, y is 0. The first point is actually at the origin. Right? What's next? When x is equal to 1, y is equal to 4. When x is equal to 1 unit, abscissa will be 1 unit, y is 4. So the intersection of this one here and 4 is actually this one here. Right? It is this point. Next one. When x is 1, y is equal to 4. No. When x is 2, y will be equal to 8. When x is 2, this is 1 unit, 2 unit, this 2 unit. Y is with the value 8 units. So this is emanating from this origin here. It goes up to 8. So the intersection of these two here in 4, okay, represents the third point. First point is actually the origin, right? Last one. When x is 3, y will be 12. This is 1, 2, 3. When x is 3 units, 1, 2, 3. The value of y is actually a very high one because this is times 4, right? So when x is 3, y will be 12. So emanating from this 0, it goes up to 12. So the intersection of a 3 and 12, okay, comprises the fourth point. It is this. So to plot the graph, get a straight edge. So you connect all the points, right? You do like that. So what comes out is actually the graph of the required equation. The graph, right? First point, second point, third point, fourth point. I think that's more than good enough to plot a straight line. Okay? And the equation of this is actually y is equal to 4x. Okay, that's the graph of the first one if the given function is a linear equation. Okay? Oh, that's the way how to plot a graph by using the so-called point plotting. So when you go to higher mathematics, if you are not sure of the graph, always start with point plotting, okay? That's always the start of the solution or how to bring out the graph. But if you are already familiar with the, what you call this, degree of equations, at least you know that if it is a first degree, it is a line. If it is second degree, there are a lot of variations for second degree equations, right? So it could be a circle, it could be an ellipse maybe, it could be a parabola, or it could be a parabola. But that's actually a topic already on this whole study of analytic geometry. Okay, let's proceed with example number 2 for this morning. A little bit harder. Plot the graph of the equation x squared plus y squared equal to 25. Okay? If we try to expect the degree or the highest power of exponent of x and y for the given equation or function, it is actually quadratic, right? So if it's a quadratic, we got a problem. Will it be a parabola? Will it be a circle? Will it be an ellipse? Or will it be a hyperbola? Okay? So the only way to determine that one is actually you try to study analytic geometry, but since we are still on algebra, we can't do anything about it. I will just do the solution that is being taught under algebra, that is the so-called point plotting. Okay, let's try to bring out the solution. X squared plus y squared is equal to 25. I will try to compute for the value of y. Y squared will be equal to 25 minus x squared. Taking the square root of both sides, y now will be the square root of 25 minus x squared. So actually, this equation here is a radical equation, but obviously this is a quadratic equation, right? So we solve y in terms of x. So actually it seems we are given now y as a function of x. Okay? And to start the construction of the plotting of the graph, we will construct first the table of x and y. By using the derived equation y equal to the square root of 25 minus x squared. Again, we put value for x, we compute for the corresponding value of y, right? So for this equation here, when x is 0, y will be 25 minus 0, or the number inside will be the square root of 25. The value of y is plus or minus 5. Because y here is under square root, the value here should be under the sign plus or minus. And for when x is 0, this will become the plus or minus the square root of 5. So there are two values. That's why I'm telling you, if the equation is quadratic, it could either be a circle, parabola, ellipse, or hyperbola. We don't know yet. Assuming We haven't gone to a higher mathematics or like analytic geometry. When x is 2, this will become 25 minus 4. This will become square root of 21. Y will become a plus or minus 4.6. So if you try to notice it, the value of y is actually decreasing, right? So actually we are almost go through the so-called process of bringing out the nature or the shape of the graph, right? When x is 4, what will come out? 4 squared is 16. 25 minus 16 will be 9. So y will be plus or minus 3. Again, it is decreasing, right? When the value of x is equal to 5, this will become 25 minus 25 and y will be equal to 0. So the highest value of y with the assumptions given here, it came from plus or minus 5, plus or minus 4.6, plus or minus 3, then it goes to 0. Actually, this is more than good enough now to be plotted, so we could determine the shape of the graph. Okay, let's try to plot the first point. When x is 0, y is either plus or minus 5. This is plus 5, this is minus 5. Okay, so the first 2 points are actually this one here. It is this. Right? Next point. When x is 2, y is plus or minus 4.6. When x is 2, this is 1 unit, 2 units, right? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, then this is 5. When x is 2 units, the value of y, the computed value of y is plus or minus 4.6. So this height here is 4.6. And this height here is negative 4.6. So the corresponding 2 points again are actually this point here and this point. So it seems the graph is actually symmetrical with respect to the x-axis, right? Because there is a value that is on top and there is a value that is below. When x is 4, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. The value of y is actually plus or minus 3. So this is minus plus 3. This is 4. The value of x is 4 here. Am I still on camera? This is 4. This is plus 3. This is minus 3. So the next 2 points are again this one. And still it is symmetrical with respect to the x-axis. When x is 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the value of y, whether we like it or not, it goes to 0. So at least we now know what kind of graph is this one. Right? First 2 points. Next 2 points. Next 2 points. When x is 5, this will be the point. And according to the third step on the point plotting, try to connect the dots, right? So if we try to connect it, this will be the graph. And if you try to inspect it, it is actually a half circle, right? So meaning to say, if we go for the value of x from 0 going to the left, we might repeat the same thing here. Okay? So this will again be 0. There will be corresponding points again here. Okay? If we repeat this one, we go from 0 to negative 5 maybe. Right? So if we try to connect again the points, it will be this. So actually the required graph is a circle. And the equation of this graph here is actually given by the equation x squared plus y squared equal to 25. This is the graph of the given quadratic equation, x squared plus y squared equal to 25. It's a circle. Circle. First one, it is a straight line. Okay guys, that's the proper way on how to plot a graph using point plotting. Okay, you assume value for x, compute for the corresponding value of y, then try to plot the points correspondingly on the xy plane. Xy plane meaning this is the x-axis, y-axis. That's why it's xy plane, right? Then try to connect the dots, then try to figure out what type of graph that will be coming out. Okay, that's it guys. Good morning from Los Angeles. This is Professor David J. De Los Reyes.